We're live. Welcome back. It's been another week. Emily, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm fully warmed up. It's my
Yeah,
second
no.
show of the day. It's like a daily double. I'm like thoroughbred, harness,
Awesome.
highlight, greyhounds. I'm ready.
Awesome. Bowling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'm hearing us on the other line there. So this is our next to last week. We got the Lexington next week. So but this is the big one and kind of a super Saturday. 3 big ones. And I figure we just take them in the order. We're not going to do a review of last week. Nothing really, I would say, was earth-shattering from last week. Forte won. I guess we could just ask you what you thought of Forte's performance.
I mean, I thought, his class took over. I still need to go back and watch, but do a little bit more kind of deeper analysis. But I just thought, he was the class of the field. He used his class in order to win. And kind of my first gut, and this has always been kind of going back, that I'm not sure the longer the better for this horse. I think he's been able to use his class to be able to overcome and run where he's been able to run. So now that we have these preps underway and, we're not going to see him until the Derby, that's something that I would consider.
Yeah. With that said, I know we're going to see another horse that we might not like tomorrow, but I think there's a horse you got to look for a Derby because I think the more distance, the better for Tapit Trice, but we'll get to him and his chances in the Bluegrass. Okay, well, so let's. I agree with you, Seth. I thought it took a lot of kind of guts to get there, because it wasn't an easy race for him. But you got to remember, we talked about that field going in not being the strongest, so
right.
So it's kind of like mixed on him. I thought it was a good performance. Did what he had to do, and good horses win. I just like you said, it's not gonna be easy.
No,
it's not gonna be as easy as everyone thinks it is. All right,
who's the other horse? It's like these horses are becoming like forgettable. There was another one that. Who was the other winner? I thought had a taxing trip.
Oh, that was the Cox horse. Was it?
Oh yeah, Angel of Empire. Yeah, of course.
I was disappointed. I didn't think Reincarnate could lose that way, but he did. And I guess I don't know. It's just. And I know you didn't like him as much, but those horses like Baffert horses will usually get better, when he's training them. It just seemed like they've kind of fallen off, all of them that I've seen so far. Well, it's going to be interesting to see, when we get to Anita, what you think about chances of some of those ex-Bob Baffert horses. But I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got something. He's got some kind of magic with these horses.
That's very nice.
Hard to define.
An unbelievable run.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the Wood Memorial, and we'll go kind of post time order: Wood Memorial, Bluegrass, and then the Santa Anita Derby. And when you look at the plot, Emily, of the Wood Memorial, I would say Arctic Arrogance looks really good. Not much on the contention or speed rating. He's got a square in quadrant 1. But I think you're going to be like me. I don't like this horse at all.
Well, I mean, the thing is that we have to consider is that his plot looks the way that it does, or a reason that the plot is because of that one race that
Remsen.
we've kind of now discovered is a little bit of an outlier,
Yeah, correct. And I mean, he just doesn't look like. I mean, and he's going to be facing the horse that to the outside hit show. He just came out of that same race, right? The Gotham, and let's face it, he got pasted in that race. I mean, that horse beat him soundly.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, I don't know. It's been hard to read Aqueduct, Emily, but that last quarter, I know the track's been slow, but they were like 20. It was like almost like 27 point something. Like it was like almost like harness final quarter. It was like close to 28 seconds. So, and he kind of like drifted in a little bit. So I'm a little eerie about both of them going, 9, 10 furlongs and, with top competition. So something to watch. I don't know how you feel on the 13 yet, but I think, there's an opportunity maybe for somebody outside those two to win this race. And I assume those two are going to be the ones that get bet.
Yeah. Well, Dreamlike, the one
Yeah, true.
is going to take a lot of money too. But yeah, I mean, as far as Hit Show, I mean, he's fine, right? Like I agree. I mean, he handled Arctic Arrogance like on the square. If Arctic Arrogance had no excuse in terms of trip, really, I didn't think, and just kind of came up short in the lane. I guess it was a fast pace, but even still, um, and Hit Show did have the race flow in his favor, but he was also just made so much sense in that race, just like he
Mm.
has made so much sense in a lot of his races. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think he's fine, but I don't think he's, I don't think he has to win.
Right. Yes, I agree. Well, so let's go through the field. We'll start with the one. Pletcher has 3 horses in here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the first one, Dreamlike. This is a horse that has not broke his maiden yet, but he's been in 2 pretty good maiden races down Gulfstream. First one was 1 turn. They started him off going a brow to ground. He ran good. That race came back, I thought, at least I projected to be key. I think it came back okay. And then the second race, I thought was kind of a strong race too. So he's run 2 Bs. Speed figure wise, he kind of lines up, but he still's got to get a little improved. He's going to face, winners for the first time. Not an easy task, but with this kind of horse, look like this horse has some potential. It could be some upside. I don't know. I think, what is he in the morning line, 3-1, 7-2? I don't like that price for me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's that.
I mean, I'm just opening up those tabs right now. As far as the February 11th race, didn't come back very strong at all. With this horse really being the only horse that did something out of that race and finished second. Everybody else is like running figures like mostly in the 70s, a couple like mid 80s. And then as far as the February race, that was a race I just went back and watched recently. And I just didn't like that race. I mean, the horse that won was like 24-1. And I know that was like a good effort, but I don't know. I wasn't sold on it, especially if he couldn't beat that horse that day. I think he's going to struggle against this group. That was just kind of my feeling.
Especially he's going to get that. I mean, there's another Pletcher in here. I think you will agree it's a better value.
Yeah, and another maiden. Yeah.
Shadow Dragon. This horse looks like he's got just kind of like one outlier, the Holy Bull, which we kind of iffy on as a race. Came back in the South and the Ute, kind of went backwards.
Which actually, sorry to cut you off, but we did consider that we are handicapping the Fountain of Youth, that there could be some regression.
Yeah. So he's gonna have to kind of move forward. I don't like horses in their second race though to go back. I mean, you understand you could regress. I just don't like it. I don't like it when I would have liked it if it was a little less than this, but it's just number wise. But I don't like it that he regressed so much. And it had nothing to do with Gulfstream track or anything like that. You can kind of almost give a horse a pass if it was the first time he was on the track, but he ran well over the track already. So,
it seemed like all the horses from the Holy Bull, except for Cyclone Mischief. Oh wait, no, except for Cyclone Mischief, regressed.
Yeah.
Next out. Yeah, every single horse.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's not for me. Moving along. Knox, what do you think of Knox? Any knocks on Knox?
I think I did have some knocks on Knox. What was I watching? Oh, distance. I wasn't crazy about this horse as far as distance, and just he's slow.
He's too slow. And even his old figures. I mean, that optional claimer looks like a kind of a outlier. They're just taking a shot, right? Coming back right away in 15 days, they're just taking a shot.
Yeah.
General Banker seems like he's kind of his last 3 races is he's just kind of not improving.
No, I mean he's a horse you can maybe make underneath type, but yeah, I mean this horse is who he is and would need so much to go right in order to win. You can't really project a race that's fast enough to win this.
Now, Slip Mahoney, we didn't like him in the Gotham, if I recall, right?
We thought he was fine. We just
He's
weren't.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he actually went off a decent price. That was kind of a weird race.
yeah,
You know, he says extra wide, but I wouldn't. That day, I thought the rail was bad, so I'm not gonna say that, you know,
yeah.
extra wide was really a negative. And then the flow, I thought he got because the race was kind of coming back. I thought the winner was just so much the best, and the horse where the jockey fell off was the best, way best.
I went back and watched it. I was like, man, that horse ran so good. I mean, I said that when we were live watching it, but like watching it again, you were just like, man, those connections. I mean, if there's ever a time to use the word gutted, like that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he came back. He ran 30, tired in what next race, stakes race or something.
Yeah,
I think he ran it.
Because he ran like a 110.
Yeah.
Very huge.
Off the charts. I mean, yeah, I would have just put that horse up for a long while.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, is he gonna? What do you think his chances are here going? I mean, yeah, he's got a chance, right? I mean, he's running as fast as these horses, the ones that.
Yeah, I still, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think he's fine, but I'm just not sold that he has like that real kind of quality type horse, but should be a consistent effort. I mean, they should be more forwardly placed, Davis back aboard, you know, kind of a one-off with the post position and the slow start. So yeah, I mean, he's fine. I'm looking elsewhere for a top contender.
Yeah, it probably helps.
If this horse won, I would not be like, oh wow.
It probably helps hit show a little bit too, put some pressure on the Arctic arrogance, right?
Yeah.
This horse was kind of a tough read for me. Because
this horse is going to run in the Bluegrass.
Oh, clearly, he's out of this race.
He's going to run in the Bluegrass. Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to him.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I guess, Arctic arrogance, that you could see the big outlier race, the Remsen. Obviously, we probably should go adjust that figure somehow. Kind of been nowhere near that. Doesn't look like we've kind of said it. Doesn't look like a horse that really wants this distance to me. And I don't see like how he's going to turn the tables on hit show. Never mind others.
Right.
8 is Lord Miles. He just looks slow to me. You know, you have any insight into this horse? I mean, he kind of started off nice, and then he just hasn't really progressed as the company gets tougher.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much what it is. Is he hasn't really been able to step up, and he really hasn't had, you know, that much of an excuse. I mean, I guess if you're saying he doesn't like being inside of horses, but it doesn't really say that in the notes because he did have the rail in both those races. But you know, off what I'm looking at from here of all the information, he's too slow and the grades are too below.
Krupi, why don't you talk about this horse? Because I know you like this horse. I do too.
Well, yeah. I mean, we liked him going into the race. I know. We gave this horse a big look. I mean, if you look at his form, it's like there's nothing. And I'm not surprised when Jim was like, "Oh, we all picked this horse," because it's like this horse is obvious. You know what I mean? It's like one of those horses that you're like, "Oh, he's going to be a price," and the more you look at him, you're like, "No, he's super obvious. He makes total sense." I mean, every race before the Risen Star fits number wise. He was showing progression race to race. He has a race over the track, 2 races over the track, one of them being an excuse and still finished second. And then the Risen Star has come back a pretty solid race. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's been a key race because horses have been kind of, you know, in or out from that race, but it's been, you know, it's been a decent race. And this horse ran good. I mean, he's just kind of his own worst enemy as far as like breaking slow.
That's a big issue.
But you know, they're giving him 49 days. They're going to come back to this track where actually, he didn't break slow over this track, so you know he does have that on his side. Yeah. Coming back with Carmouche, he's been aboard, so yeah. I mean, I think he's logical.
Way better value than the Dreamlike. Way better value.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he'll be a square number in here, but I think he's a
Yeah,
little
what
bit
is he?
more obvious than the 12-1. I
Yeah,
mean, maybe he's 12-1, but
yeah, or closer to 8.
I think he'll be maybe the fourth choice or something like that.
Uncle Jake, horses breaking their maiden at Laurel. Next start is the Wood Memorial. I'm not betting.
Yeah. I'm not betting a Bob Baffert slog rank turf horse. No. That they had to send a Laurel. Okay.
Yeah. Classic catch, Emily. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this horse. I think this horse is just like wants a lot of distance, but he's not bad. I mean, he's he broke his maiden over this track in November with a pretty decent number. You could just kind of project up from that just based on improvement. I think he could be better than those last 2 races. Maybe Tampa's kind of a weird track. It wasn't the right distance. He got 9 furlongs at Gulfstream, but it's another track that's, he drew the inside.
Oh.
But
this is a horse. This horse stumbled at the start in that last race. That March 2nd, he stumbled out of the gate.
Oh, he did.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to remember. I don't know if this horse is very good. I don't disagree that he can't run all day. I just don't know how fast he can do it.
Yeah, he's but here's a horse that you probably can look underneath. I mean, he's going to be finishing up. Especially when you get these races where a lot of these horses never get 9 furlongs or whatever, but sometimes this is the kind of horse that could just kind of clunk up at the end. He's never run a bad race, really. I mean,
he hasn't really run that good of a race either. That's the thing. I mean, he's kind of like the Slip Mahoney, right? Like he's just kind of like
yeah.
There's no knocks, but I don't know. There's nothing to get excited about.
No, I wouldn't get excited.
No jockeys are sticking with this horse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a deep closer. I mean, you underneath at best, but it could be a good underneath horse if he stays around that price. Or
he's not. I don't think he's that deep of a closer. Just that stumble last out had him off the pace.
Yeah. Well, based on his pose position, they may take back too. It depends.
Yeah, it does go. It does go like right into the first turn, right?
Yeah. Mr. Swagger. This horse was in that Gotham. I thought this is the horse that Emily was on the inside that day. And I thought I don't know if it was a full-blown bias, but I just thought there was a bias there. I think it favored the outside horses. So that was his first time versus winners after running the B+, in his maiden breaker, going shorter. Now he gets long distance. An unknown, but a horse that I wouldn't be surprised if this horse improves and, runs in the money. That would be or like 4th or something like that. Wouldn't shock me. You're going to get price on this horse, but especially with the connections. So, maybe it's a horse you put at the bottom of your rungs, your supers or tries or something like that. Because I think he's got upside.
Yeah, I mean, visually, I think he looks a little bit cheap, but I'm not going to make too many knocks because this horse is going to be, 60 to 1, Yeah.
And then here's the favorite. I think we talked a little bit about him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't knock it. But I just think that race really was slowing late, and I think it flattered his finish.
Yeah. Oh. We kind of recap. The one thing I left out talking about Krupe, but I said it earlier if you watch the Hawthorne. So I know you were watching.
Yes.
That I was saying about Krupe. On March 17th, I think it was March 17th. It's like a workout about 3 back. March 17th, that 51 flat. that work was in company with Forte.
Yeah.
And it was like the type of drill. So Forte got like a 50 or something like that, like time wise. But Krupe like broke like in front of Forte, about a length and a half, two lengths in front. And Forte, it was just like one of those drills that they just like orchestrated, right? Like you go out, you stalk, they're gonna come up alongside you, you guys kind of side by side, then let that one go, and Krupe's on the inside, and so that all went to plan, and then they kind of both galloped out together, and they galloped out like a long way together. And just from like a visual standpoint, you have to like watch those works a lot, because sometimes it'll just tell you so much more than the times. Like, Krupe wasn't a full second slower than Forte, nor was he that much inferior, right? When you watch the eye, because Forte is a very classy animal that he'll put away horses, right? Like without a problem. And this horse was right there. I wouldn't be like, if I'm grading them, I wouldn't be like B+1, B the other. I'm like, both those horses did what they were supposed to do. They're good horses. So I think that drill was like a class test for him.
And then you got like 2 subsequent faster drills since then, right?
Yeah.
So honing a little bit. So maybe trying to get him a little bit away from the gate better. And like you said, at least he never broke slow back without. So that's upside. So I think we're kind of in agreement. I think Krupe is our play.
That plot. Sorry, we'll just put more fuel in here. But on the quad percentage is actually a positive.
Is it because he's in quadrant 3, I believe? Yeah. He's above the lines here. So you can see this, all these mean, that this tells you percentage-wise, the win percentage, relative to the other horses in a race, the place percentage and the show percentage and the money percentage of the horses, where they're located, and the shape of them. So squares win more on quadrant 3 than circles and so forth. So that takes that all into consideration. So when you see the bars above the line, above the 0 here, that's positive. So you have Slip Mahoney, and we've talked about Arctic Arrogance, right? We talked about why his plot might look better than it is. And then Krupe's right there with them.
Hit show
and also Hit Show, right? So those are the horses that have it. And then another thing, it's a quicker summary, but if you do a summary and just want to look quickly, pace, speed, class, these bars just kind of do that for you too. So
he checks all the boxes. He's the only horse that checks all the boxes.
Yeah. So good value. If you get anywhere 8 to 1 and above, probably value.
I would say 5. Well, no, seeing all this, it's like, and looking at this field, I mean.
Okay. All right, good. Strong endorsement there. All right, so that's the Wood Memorial. I think that's pretty good. Let's move on to Keeneland and Bluegrass. Anything about the plot that it's kind of like shapeless. I see so many shapeless
plot. Like, no, it's wild. This is.
At first blush, I would say that this plot favors early pace horses, right? I mean, it should. So I would think the 3 would benefit from this plot. That's just one thing. Maybe that's just, but it's still hard to tell, right? But I'm just it's hard to tell. But just look at the run style wise. You got 3 horses with an early pace run style, and the rest are presser closers. So that's really what I'm looking at more so than the plot itself. Just kind of looking at it that way. And you think the 9 is too cheap, or maybe he's not, depending on what your opinion of him. And the 4, that kind of leaves the 3. So I know there's 2 favorites in here, and the first thing I looked at is like, both these favorites just sense that they could be vulnerable, Emily, and for different reasons. And then I said to myself, well, who could win? And then I started getting like, I'm not sure. That's kind of the way I went. It was like, okay, I think you can beat the favorites, but then I started saying with who. So I don't know if you have more insight, but
this is where I come in.
Good. Well, let's start with the favorite, Tapit Trice, who I think has a big shot even if he doesn't win this, to win the Kentucky Derby. Just I know he's kind of a hard horse to ride. He's all this other stuff, all this criticism about him. But Emily, this horse has a massive stride. I just did some comparisons looking at kind of the stride length of these horses, based on what's in result charts. And, I think you can go to GPS result charts and Echo Base and look at it. This horse is like, it's not, no one's even close to him, not even Forte. This horse just has a massive stride. How he won that Tampa Bay Derby, still don't know. The problem with this race, he's the kind of horse that kind of got to get outside horses. If he's like within 3 lengths or 4 lengths, turning for home, he's going to win pretty much any race. But that's if he gets inside, I don't like the post position for him because he's going to get, maybe if he gets inside, shuffled back. I'm a little concerned. The other thing is this race doesn't have much pace, and so maybe he can be closer to the pace, like maybe mid pack. It may not be a problem for him. So I just want to see him run a good race and hopefully get his odds up for the Derby. So if he loses, it maybe a little bolster. If he finishes second or third, and with some kind of an excuse and kind of sets him up for Derby, that's what I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah, I just kind of look at him with, almost in the way of like Arctic arrogance in some way, because that 102 stands out really strong, right? What we're going off of number wise. But it's not really a number that he kind of ran before or has run back to since. And and that field was terrible. So it's like, that was like practice. Like, I don't know. I just don't know how to take that. And then, in Tampa Bay Derby, he never looked like a winner. And I think that the reason that he did end up winning in that race is almost to the fact that everybody else lost, not even that he won. It was just like none of those horses were able to win that race, right? And he ran well because he had to kind of overcome like his own kind of self, right?
Yeah.
So I just, if you kind of just look at him from the perspective of, okay, if that race is an outlier, which is kind of the race that people have to be looking at in order to bet him as the favorite, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. In this race, yeah, sure.
So if you excuse that, that's the reason for the short price, and then saying, well, maybe that's not his real thing, then he becomes vulnerable.
Yeah, I think the other problem with him is the post position draw. Because he does maybe they can get him out, and Saez knows this horse pretty well. So maybe you can get him out, and get him the right.
Yeah,
trip.
there's another knock, but just in terms of value, because we see like a lot of these horses that kind of just have hype and they're supposed to be good, and overcame that, and the way that he looks on paper because he has those open length wins looks starts to just look a little bit more flattered on paper. Where I don't know. He's got to show that he's faster.
Yeah,
or show that 102 is him.
I will tell you though that race visually was the most impressive race I've seen from a 2-year-old, maybe with the exception of that Baffert horse, the Arabian.
Arabian Night. Yeah.
Night. I always want to go to line. Night. Arabian Night. That was, to me, that was the second for a 3-year-old this year. That he finished like 23 and horses don't finish 23 and change. I'm telling you, this horse just can cover so much ground. And, he just wasn't handling the track, in my opinion, at Tampa. And he won that race. I don't think it was because, maybe a little bit default, maybe it was a weak field, but we could say that about every one of these prep races.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
I just that's just hard to win like that at Tampa, where you got to overcome and go wide and and then run everybody down. It just doesn't happen a lot. And so I think he was on a good progressive line before the Tampa race, and the Tampa race maybe didn't handle the track, maybe he regressed a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see who he is. I think this race will be a good indicator, but I'm not so I'm not going to take a short price him in this race, but I'm just I want to kind of wait and see. Like I said, I just think he's still, regardless, I think he has a chance to contend for the Derby if he wins or not in this race. I still think he's that kind of a horse. He's got the profile for a Derby horse. I mean, in terms of 10 furlongs, the stride, the closing ability. I just think especially looking at the field, there's no like brilliant speed horses that could sustain their speed. At least I haven't seen one. And so it's all going to be a matter of who's going to be finishing in the Derby this year. It's going to be who's going to be finishing, right? And we've seen it a lot of years with who's got the biggest squares have been ones that win the Derby. Generally, they're tactical horses that could be close. That's his knock. But I don't know this year. That I don't know tactical horses. I'm trying to think in this whole scheme of things. We really know a tactical horse that has real strong finishing ability. I haven't seen him yet.
No. So, I mean, maybe in California we'll see.
Maybe yeah.
One of those horses. But yeah, I mean, there hasn't been. The horses that have been on or near the lead have been flow-aided type horses. Yeah, I mean, maybe they try to send this horse under Saez.
It could be like an experiment.
I mean, in his works, they've been working him kind of in front of Dreamlike, that horse that's running in the wood, kind of, being the pace setter for that one. So,
yeah. So, maybe he's still, I mean, he's only had the 4 starts. So,
yeah.
The potential is there.
So, yeah. I mean, to me, it's just he's going to be a short price kind of.
I agree. He's not a good bet tomorrow.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah. Clear the Air, I think, will be a good bet though.
Here's the one that was in the wood. I thought it was going to be in the wood. There he is.
Yeah, because this horse is going to be a huge price, and I mean, there's a case to be made. I'm not going to argue with this note here, but there is a case to be made that was even an excuse, because even prior to the note where he was crowded in the stretch, he was crowded early. Like he was shuffled back. You could tell for that first half mile, they were unable to kind of like get position, and then wanting to, and it was more like those rider things where it's like, I don't really want to be in this spot and I don't really know how to get out of it. And then they move him wide, and then he has those issues late. So it's like there's more upside on this horse, and he's going to be
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I don't know how much, but this is another race where you don't need to be a world beater to win this. So this is a horse that definitely was he in the morning line, especially with the connections, right? I think he's going to be undervalued.
Yeah, and that trip was like, it was sneaky to me, because it was obviously the stuff late, and I think people will see that and be like, okay, whatever. But I think the early part was like what really.
Yeah, and the other thing is, the only other thing is that how good was that wood? Because I guess the other horse is in this race, the winner of that race is in the Bluegrass too. So we'll see him when we get to him.
Yeah,
who I thought ran really well. I ran the best. I mean, that horse had trouble too. Got stopped on the turn. Still went easy. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So verifying this horse, I know we had a little disagreement on this trip here. I didn't think he was handling the track there in the Rebel. You thought he had like a really good. He did have a pocket trip, no doubt. Yeah, his little plotty. You said, but I think he had some trouble too late. He probably, I think you were more like he got himself into trouble, but I did a little trouble. I didn't think he handled the track all that well. I was kind of projecting him to win that race. And I still think he's got a good chance in this race. I think he's going to be forward. What's your thought on him?
Well, I think the trip maybe carries him kind of like the horse in the Arkansas Derby type of a scenario. Yeah. But I mean the trip we're verifying, like watching, because remember I told you I watched this race like too many times because it was kind of a tricky one to figure out what's going on. And really what kind of made me give this note was watching that head on, because he's never really in trouble. He's kind of like, can you see my hands? Where are my hands? There's these two horses that are out in front, and he's like here. So it's like, I know you can still get kickback from that spot, but it wasn't the type of visuals like he's not, you know, I don't know. I just didn't see enough from him that I really thought, but I mean, I could project a move forward uh, overall, but I just I couldn't make any excuse out of it. And being inside maybe was good because that's where the 6 horse, whatever his name is, reincarnate kind of came from, was able to kind of save ground and make that move. Like being in kind of a similar part of the track and then didn't do anything last out. So I don't, I, I don't know. I think if anything in this race, it is the trip being able to kind of use his tactile speed and maybe that carries just for these connections.
Yeah, I think.
But Drew goes elsewhere. Rosario goes elsewhere. Gaffleone isn't necessarily a rider, I think, for Brad Cox necessarily. So I don't know what the intention is for this.
He does well at Keeneland. I think he won the last meet.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, as far as
and Rosario's been riding. I wouldn't say. I think he's improving, but he's definitely not at the top of his game this year.
Yeah,
he's had a rough year. He's had a really rough year.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't look too much into that. And I just think the track profile helps. 9 furlongs, I'm still iffy on this horse too, but I just think the track profile fits this horse. And I think Cox's horse, they look like they're running today. So I think they're going to be set up for a good effort. And he's going to be,
that's what I just can't take a short price on.
He can't take a short price on him.
Yeah. It's the bottom line.
This horse is weird to me. I don't know how to. I don't know. I mean, he's not getting any faster, but he's got some issues. But I don't know if some of these issues are his issues, or he doesn't change leads. So 9 furlongs worries me. I don't know. What's your thought on it?
I mean, he changed leads. I guess those are I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't change leads at Tampa. I don't know.
2 turns.
Well, he did 2 turns on January 6th. Yeah, I mean, the concern, this horse tries and gives an honest effort every time, but he just might not be on this level, where he's trying and he's doing everything he can, but I mean, he is who he is.
Yeah. So maybe he's an underneath horse. I didn't know what to do with this horse. Hayes Strike, they kind of, I'm not big horses coming out of Laurel and winning. He says no line. He kind of did shift in. Like he was getting at the top of the stretch, he was getting pushed out, and then he kind of shifted in at the end there. And that was his best race ever to date. This horse got a little bit of a backlash, right? He ran 3rd in that Kentucky Jockey Club race that we always kind of point to.
And 2nd in the Street Sense.
Yeah, he's got backlash. It just, it was interesting to see the Laurel race as kind of a prep, just why, surprised he went there. Like surprised he went everywhere he went so far. And like not after those 2 stakes races, if they thought he was like, oh, he's really, he's ready for a big, Derby prep. And then they put him in the private times at Laurel. So I got my doubts, but the thing is, he plots incredible. You see his plot. I mean, it's just it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence.
Why is that?
The only thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just comes down to number. I mean, if he's just a big enough number, you gotta use. But yeah, I mean, that's I guess just the bottom line. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to not like, and then at the same time, you're like, I could see it. Right. I could see it. Maybe
this is McPeak's. This is his meat, right? He's usually got his horse.
Well, yeah, but he has a horse that's better.
Yeah. That's probably the horse. Scooby-Doo. How about Scooby Quando? And he's never been on. I can make a case for this horse.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Scooby Quando better than Race Kane in this race.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. And the thing is you notice that he's got good progression. That he had trouble in that last race. He could have ran a lot better in the Battaglia. Interesting that they skipped the Jeff Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm assuming that was an intent it wasn't an injury. I don't know. That's the only thing I hate about a race. I mean, everything should be transparent on injury reports and all that kind of stuff, but and be one place where we could find it. But if it was intent, this horse is, if you look at his workouts, he's based here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is intent because that scratch was on 325 and then he worked on 330 and he worked a bullet. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm looking for
miraculous recovery for whatever ailment.
So he's been based here. He's been shipping in, I guess, to the Turfway, and so he's at his home track.
Yeah,
they skipped that race, so there's intent there. He's got to get a little bit. He's got to get faster, but there's potential for that. And who knows? He could move way up on dirt. We don't know.
Yeah,
he could be a different one. So he's definitely, to me, a value play. I think, where is he at? 15-1. Yeah, he's a value play.
Yeah,
and I think he's got a good sneaky trainer too.
Yeah.
Okay, your horse, Emily. No chance, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because I think the Louisiana Derby, I think their intent that day was to get points, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
Right.
And it didn't work out because a couple things. They went in. This is a good lesson to everybody, right? As far as like when you try to play it too safe, what can happen, right? Because it was like, okay, well, we want to keep them a little bit closer to the pace, which they were able to do, but it was like kind of just too slow of a pace, and it wasn't decisive enough to kind of go sort of in the right times, right? And then when the race, he was just kind of like in the mix with everybody else, kind of inside and buried behind horses and a little bit lost. So he was unable to kind of run his race when they were just trying to like not win, but just get enough points, right? And so like you can kind of make an excuse for that race, and then coming back in the spot, now they're in a sticky situation because they need points. Yeah. Plus now they can't like empty the tank because they weren't planning on running here. They were planning on going, Louisiana Derby into Kentucky Derby and having that time that it kind of messes up the form cycle a little bit. So now it's tricky because it's like you don't want to make the same mistake twice of being too passive to not get the points to get to the Kentucky Derby. But then if you're too aggressive, then, maybe it takes too much out of the horse. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, this horse fits as well as anybody in here. I mean, Giroux rides this meet well, rides well for McPeak, has been on stakes horses for McPeak. I think it's a positive rider change after, the last couple races. So, but yeah, I mean, that's just more of like, kind of down the line type of thing. And then he still has to run a fast race in order to win, Yeah.
I don't like him at all.
At all? Yeah.
No, yeah.
Like off the board, you don't like him?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like him. Yeah.
Why do you think he'll be off the board?
I don't like I just like you said, it's all intent. I don't like the quick turnaround on this horse. I mean, I think he's run some, he's put in some races here, cumulative races that could take their toll, especially he kind of, he did a little shipping, not much, but some shipping. I don't see it like, the other thing is really another horse that, if you look at his Risen Star, I think he got the flow of the race. Other than that race, he's kind of hasn't progressed number-wise. And it's like, it's 92, 99, 89. Really, and if you take the Risen Star, kind of like what you're talking about with the other horse, I thought the Risen Star, he got flow, and it benefited. I think that number got, some of those horses coming off the pace got better numbers than probably they should have. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. I just don't see, he's going to have to make a pretty big move forward off that last race in 14 days.
I mean, I can make a case that he's able to do it because I don't think that they ran their best race that day. So I'm not, I know he can run faster than that without a problem. For the other reasons, I mean, the debut was just a prep, right? then he goes faster. And then the Southwest we have as a prep as well. So I can't really knock either of those
Yeah.
races. So now you're just looking at the B plus maiden special weight win, the B in the Risen Star. I know it's flow aided, but he had to come from well out of it, where Angel of Empire didn't have to come from as far out of it, just harder to do, especially at fairgrounds. And then Angel of Empire won. So even though it was like flow aided, it's still like, the race park kind of stacks up, and then last out, the other thing, I've already detailed that. So
the other thing I don't like about it is the track profile is different. Keeneland's a tough place to be a deep closer in.
That's why I thought last out they were trying to not make him a deep closer, but didn't fully commit.
Yeah, so he's got to prove that he's not just a deep closer. He's yet to do that. Okay. I can't touch this one. I mean that race. I had to go back and watch it again just to say that I missed something. I'd never seen such a dull effort in my life.
I expected that dull effort.
Did you? That dull?
100%. I expected that dull effort.
It wasn't like no push.
No, I know. You can go back. Yeah. We have it recorded. You can go back and watch when I was assessing this.
I'm not doubting that. What I'm asking, do you think that's like an effort that pretends that he's going to move? He's got to move forward with this race, but I'm saying, do you think like it pretends him coming back with a winning effort off of that? Is that what you're thinking? But yes or no?
Yeah, I do. I think he comes back with a winning effort. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't expect anything in the Fountain of Youth other than getting a race coming back off the layoff. I look at this horse. It's like I already said, he could run all day. He's like, he could Belmont, like distance wise. This horse can run all day. He showed the progression last year. I know it was like that steady gradual, but yeah. And to your point, if you're saying Rosario has been terrible, then that's another reason that this horse stunk,
Yeah.
Ortiz is on, has the race under his belt. This horse is like, he's under the radar. Even just from like, he's got a B in grade 1 company. Like, who else?
Yeah. Well, 2 to 3. Especially especially some of those early races, like the Champagne. I didn't think much of a race. I didn't think that was much of a race at all. And I guess
he came back and ran a B- in the.
He did. He did. It was on this track. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't bet a horse off that dull of an effort. He did I just looked for something.
Well, what if he's? I don't think he'll be 6-1, but
yeah, I don't want him at 6-1. I don't care.
I don't think he will be. I think there's other horses that I think this horse gets dismissed. But yeah, I think this horse at the right number. I think this horse could rebound.
What's the right number?
Oh, what is the right number? I think that probably double that. I think he will be
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's see, that's a weird thing. If he's 12, then then you're kind of wondering if because there was information like this horse. If this horse, he was a great grade 1 winner and he's working out of his mind, he's not going to be 12-1, right? So
he's working on it. He's working on it pacing, and there's no works available because I've been looking for that.
Oh, workout times or reports.
I've been looking for video and I can't find video. So I don't know. I'm sure I don't know if there's a workout report out there, but there's no video. But his works have been steady.
Yeah.
Since.
Yeah.
And he has, the back works at Keeneland.
Yeah, I just, just knowing the connections, these horses always kind of jump up. So it wouldn't shock me. I'm just not betting.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially at 6-1.
I don't think he'll be. But...
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anybody talk about this horse. This horse looks. Yeah.
What do you think about? I mean, it's weird. They had him.
He was like 6. He was like 6-1 last out when he looked better on paper. Oh, we've already moved on. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Major Blue, Major
yeah,
Slow.
yeah. But this is like Lucas will have this horse wire to wire.
They're gonna try. That's it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
So that actually may hurt. Well, unless the 3 can sit right off of them.
Yeah, but still, they're gonna probably go fast.
Race Kane. This is the horse that ran in the Gotham. That was a good effort. That was a really good effort for him. I don't know if it takes something out of him though, Emily. And he's got to get faster too. But
yeah, I mean that was we made the case that was the time for him, where he was sitting. He was sitting on where he needed to be in that race, and he still didn't run very fast. He ran very good, but he just didn't run very fast.
Yeah. No, he's got those. He does have those good races at Keeneland as a 2-year-old, and they were pretty good numbers. Well, the Maiden Breaker was a good number. The other stakes race, he finished 3rd.
Right, which is what projected him to move forward in the Gotham.
Yeah.
But he just didn't quite.
Yeah, I don't like him on the win end, but maybe he can move up a little bit and get underneath. That's a possibility. Okay, I thought this horse had a little bit of a look. Here's why. I think that race came back. First of all, he's on turf debut and he wins. It was a low number, but I like this. He had trouble, showed grit, and I never liked fairgrounds, like quality. But maybe this horse wasn't a turf race. They just needed to get a route into him, and then they stretch this horse. Then they put him on dirt, stretch him out a little bit. He's got to handle slop, and you got here a perfect trip. But that race came back pretty good. I mean, like numbers wise, like horses improved out of that race. I'm just wondering if this horse, he ran a 90. It's got some more upside here. I noticed that Hernandez ends up on this horse for McPeak. Who had him in the debut. I don't know. It's a stab, but I think there's a horse that could improve and maybe get into the bottom end of the exotics.
Yeah, I don't. I think this horse is a good horse, but I don't. It seems like a lot. Seems like a lot too soon, and he's been a little somewhat lucky. I mean that race, the race on March 9th, one horse came back to run well, and the horse that ran well is a pretty decent horse that broke his maiden out at Remington Park, and did so pretty strongly. But everything else wasn't that great. Whoa. The tomato horse.
Tomato. So this horse, El Tomato, ran 10 points more.
Yeah, that's the one horse.
Yeah. B Minor ran 7 points more. Funny Uncle 3 points. Okay, he didn't do much. So I mean, they all improved. I mean, this horse went to a stakes race and improved. I mean, it was Houston
State-bred stakes race.
Yeah, state-bred. Okay.
And then those 2 horses are both out of that that March 30th race, but I think it was that the raining race or no? Oh no, the race before was raining.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I just think maybe it's a horse maybe the horses are, down the road stakes kind of runner, but
yeah,
you might be right. But I don't know.
I think that maybe they're gonna try to send. Maybe he's in the race for Sun Thunder to have pace to run it. I don't know. That was my first gut thought.
Does he have pace?
Yeah, his debut
on the turf.
But he showed grit that day. That was with Hernandez aboard.
I don't know if this is him on surface distance.
Yeah, but I mean on standard from that post also. I mean,
yeah. Anyway, I know he's a horse that I think keep an eye on. Maybe not in this race, but so I think it's gonna be interesting to see what Tapit Trice does in this race. Verifying should have some should be able to work out a trip, and I think we both kind of high on a long shot there with Scooby Quando, and you like Blazing Sevens more than I do. I think basically that sums up the race, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Blazing Sevens has to be a price, but I think he's going to be it because I just think that horse just looks too not good on paper, not fast. Yeah. I think there's just other horses that will look more appealing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been burned so many times with Chad Brown horses that just move way up, off of layoffs and things like that. Horses that like completely run above where they've kind of been doing things. Okay, so now we're done. We're going to go to San Anita for the San Anita Derby.
Oh, shit. There's still one more. Okay.
Sorry.
I forgot about this.
Yeah.
I forgot about this race.
So, I mean, I think, I don't know, we could kind of, break this down to like, I mean, the main runners, I think we can go just to those. I think of the three, we need to say something about the three. Go Rocket Ride. 5, Practical Move. The 6, National Treasure. The 7, Skinner, and the 8, Mandarin Hero, right? Those are the horses we got to focus on. Is that fair?
And the 1.
Oh, don't get it right. Yeah, I don't get it. Don't get it.
Look at the fucking plot. Oh, sorry. Look at this.
No. I was kidding around. I was just. I think.
I know. It's a name thing, but I mean, just from a plot standpoint, a horse that's going to be like 30 to 1. I mean, this horse.
Oh yeah, no. I got
it. I don't get it, but I mean, I don't get it. It's faster than Tapit Trice.
Yeah, no, he's not. Where's his 100?
Well, that 100 is up for debate as far as I'm at this point.
Why is it up for debate? It's a legitimate number. I mean, you don't run that. I mean, he ran that fast. I mean, like I said, he ran the fastest quarter mile probably at Gulfstream, 8 furlongs in probably the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, he only had to run a quarter mile against that field. That field was terrible.
He had to run the whole mile. He just ran that much faster for the last quarter mile. He didn't have to run.
I knew there was nobody in there. It was like practice.
So what are these races? The longer the races, the less there's less early pressure. You're not running hard early. You're running all late in the mile and a quarter, mile and 9 furlong races. You're not running early in those races.
I'm just being critical.
So me too. I'm just coming back at you. Okay, I don't get it, but no, I do get it. Actually, this horse.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I mean, it just hasn't done anything wrong. It's moving forward.
It's moved forward every race, speed figure wise, with distance, added ground.
Yeah. I don't blame, especially at the price that he's going to be.
Looks as good as any of those on the plot. I mean, he's a square.
Yep.
I mean, because if it's not one of those, like, I have questions on Go Rocket Ride, Practical Move, National Treasure. It's like.
Well, I mean,
this race could be something stupid.
These horses are pretty close. They're not that far off, and so it's all about the price here, right? I mean, Go Rocket Ride. I just thought ran better than you did enough. San Felipe. I thought it was his first time, 2 turns. He got, he was kind of pinched. Looked like he was just going to quit. He was backing up. Leaving the. Getting onto the stretch, leaving the turn. And I thought he showed a little bit of grit and showed a little quality. But, in this kind of race, he's going to be, if he's like 3 to 1, I don't want any part of him, but I still think he's a pretty nice horse. That was my assessment of him.
I mean, Practical Move won that race. Skinner finished 3rd. Thought Skinner ran well. And then the other horse, the other pace setter, Hijazi, just came back and lost today at Keeneland with a pretty favorable trip. Yeah.
I just think he's a horse that, it's only second race, first time 2 times. I think he can move. I just think he's a horse that's kind of still learning and could move forward. That's just my opinion of him.
Yeah.
So what's your assessment of Practical Move? I mean, he's going to definitely be over bet, no?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, red keywords, perfect trips.
Yeah. I take the 3 over him anyway. Anyway, that's my opinion. National Treasure.
I mean, National Treasure. The part of the reason I ended up not getting so high on Reincarnate and looking elsewhere to another horse that kind of sucked equally as much in the end, but National Treasure was like beating the brakes off Reincarnate in those workouts.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, and this horse is, I mean, he's another one that's been in graded stakes company and kind of holding his own. They sketched the San Felipe to run this race. I think it's because of the longer distance. So, I mean,
And Baffert and Yachteen, I'm sorry, just hasn't been. I haven't seen a horse get moved up yet.
Yeah.
With the change, I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen him stay the same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Reincarnate ran that race in the Rebel, and then that was it.
I know you like this horse, right? So, what'd you?
Yeah, I mean, I can't. There's nothing to not like on this horse. His debut was good. He moved up in his second start against Grade 1 Company, which is not really a move that Sheriff's does, right?
Mm.
And then that ride in the American Pharaoh was just so problematic. They had him in cheek pieces that day. It looks like he was wearing a bar shoe that day. There was a layoff that followed. So you just if you scrap that race, he's on a progressive line.
Mm.
Every single, race is more forward than the next. So
yeah, and he'll be value. He'll be around 4 to 5, 5 to 1, maybe even.
Yeah.
And he'll be good value. You can't. I mean, could you knock any Japanese horse that comes to you?
No, you cannot knock. If they lose, they lose, but you cannot.
You look at it. He's running. But who cares, right? Because our horses are running a main race, so he's running 2 state lower, stakes races. But I don't know. I watch those races. And I'm like, this horse. Okay, first of all, in that first race, makes this huge move. A huge move to he was went from 7th to 2nd, okay, and then he kind of hung around 2nd, and then he kind of passed the horse in the stretch, and the third horse was a mile back. I mean, they just completely separated. The next race, he kind of got a pocket trip, and he ran a good race. He was right again. The third horse was a mile back. And the other thing I noticed about the track, the last race, it was like a sandbox. I mean, it looked like they were running on the beach. I mean, so you have to believe. You could just look at this horse. You know he's going to get the distance. Distance is going to be an issue, and fitness is not going to be an issue. So if he's good enough, if he's just fast enough, he wins this race. It's just because he's got the fitness and he's got the distance all taken care of.
Well, and he's on the same form cycle pattern, because when he ran that B+ that has the 2 moves, that was in the same day. He was off 99 days. He comes back in 41. He's been off 99 days, runs that pocket race. So now he should be sitting on.
And he supposedly, from someone I've been told, that he's doing very well, working very well.
Yeah. So. I've seen a few. I mean, his works are, it's typical when these horses come over. It's not like you're watching, Southern California horses train, right? It's right. Totally different. So you're just looking for a horse that's happy, fit, changing leads on cue, things like that, which
he's running on the beach. He's going running from the beach to be running on the concrete. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So he's 8 to 1. I don't know what he's going to be, but he'll be at least that, I would imagine. And to me, I'm using him. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, again, intent. I mean, this. I guess there's an opportunity to run this horse in the. I don't know where. To be honest, I don't know where in the country they have that prep race. The qualifier that you can run in Japan to qualify for the Derby. So there's a horse that won that race, and he did. I don't think he ran in that race. So. Obviously they're thinking the Derby with this horse, and it's kind of an aggressive move to come into California and try to win the.
I think the plan was always to come here. It was this has been in the cards.
Well, Well, I think it's probably a good thing, right? Because if you win the Sandy Derby, that really kind of gives you, you know you're going to get a pretty decent. You can be running against pretty decent horses. Uh, let's face it. I think we're all said this is the best prep race in terms of quality,
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Without
mean,
a
it's
doubt.
going through these races. This is the one that has the most actual contenders,
Yeah,
right? Horses that
yeah.
were like, yeah, this one, not playing these two because they're shorter prices or whatever. But yeah,
So they may say, hey, if we can win or finish second here, we have a shot in the Derby.
yeah,
Right? It'll be legit. Yeah. So I think that's a smart move. I mean, it makes him a good move. So you could do worse than Mandarin Hero, I think, in the Sandy the Derby. Would not shock me at all if he won the race. So I think that's it. Do we have anybody else in that we need to cover? I think the others are kind of also runs, don't you think?
yeah. They're all below. I mean,
So I mean,
low expectations. The 9 got that big speed figure last out. That was 13 days ago. But prior to that, he was a maiden claiming runner. I mean, Sunland Derby, there was kind of no excuse that day. And I think he's entered for pace, which they also have the 1 in the field. Gutierrez is on the 1, so yeah. I mean, if this horse runs, I think he's just a horse that's entered for pace.
Okay. So that's it. I think we've covered all the big ones. Next week we'll recap these because these are important preps, and then we'll go into the Lexington, which is the last of the prep races before the big race on the first Saturday in May. Anything else, Emily? I think we covered it.
I think we got it. Yeah.
Any questions? Nothing.
We got a couple. Not much chatter today. David Bray said McPeak, possibly Blazing Sevens has some major value coming off that horrible effort. That's what I think. I don't think he'll be a short price, but maybe people do bet the connection. Tapit Trice is fake news. We shall see. We shall see. Controversy. There's some drama all around that one. Go Rocket Ride is nice of the tactics to go gate to wire. I don't know about that. I think it's going to be similar to last out where I think they want to sit maybe off. If they send the 4, they send the 9. If they don't, then I think Barrios could. I mean, Pratt could.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The Tapit Trice is fake news. The thing with Tapit Trice, the reason I kind of stayed with him is everyone was so negative after the Tampa Bay. All those wise guys were so negative. He can't win. He can't win like that. He can't.
Really?
Yeah, Andy Serling
really was the opposite. No,
bashed him. So I mean, I was watching that the racing whatever that day. They were like, I understand why. I don't argue. I just think I've never seen. I've never looked at this before. But people, if you check out the Equibase, it's in the Equibase. It's in New York, I guess, on their charts. There's a thing, and one of the things it allows you to do is how big the horse's strides are. And I just, okay, it's one thing, you're in a race, it's how many strides do you make and all that rest. I get it. But just check it out. I've really never seen a horse with that, covers that much ground, especially at the end of a race with his stride. And it's dramatic. It's something, and you could see it. I mean, that's how he won the Derby. That's how he ran really fast at the end of that Gulfstream race. The data visually matches what I see on the track. So that's my 2 cents. All right. Well, it's been a good show. Thanks for joining. I think I screwed up the time big time. But this will be available replay. So if you have friends who want to watch it on replay, you can. That's it. All right, Emily. Oh, by the way, Emily, we have a focus for the last 5 for the all stakes pick 5, not all the last 5 races. Picks.
Okay. Awesome.
So check that. Yeah, so some good races, some horses that, I mean, it looks like favorites all look like they could get upset in all legs, except for maybe one, that McGahee horse, I think, is coming back off a layoff, the one that ran second in the turf, the juvenile turf last year, I think is a sensational horse, but maybe too short a distance. We'll see. All right, everyone. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.